This is one of those movies that's going to be hard to review without spoilers. So once I give my rating for the end of this review, I'm going to talk about the spoilers rather than doing my own video. So stay tuned after my rating. Tomorrowland is the latest live-action film from writer, producer, director Brad Bird, who's done Iron Giant, The Incredibles, and Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. It follows a young woman named Casey, played by Britt Robertson, who finds this mysterious pin in her belongings that, when she touches it, takes her to this utopian place known as Tomorrowland, where anything is possible. She's destined to find out more about this place and actually go there. So she tracks down Frank Walker, who's played by George Clooney. He is somebody who's actually been to Tomorrowland and apparently was a great boy genius, but now he's bitter George Clooney. I was about to say he's a bitter old man, but he's George Clooney. He's not that old. However, due to a series of events surrounding this mysterious girl named Athena that both Casey and Frank know, the three of them embark on a journey to Tomorrowland. Brad Bird is one of my favorite directors working. As I mentioned, he mainly has a background in animation. He did some episodes of The Simpsons, mainly the one where Krusty goes to jail and we get the introduction of Sideshow Bob. And then, of course, he directed such movies like The Iron Giant, The Incredibles, Ratatouille, which I don't own. And then he had his live-action debut in 2011 with Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. And watching this movie, it feels like he's been doing live-action films his entire life. So the man is definitely talented, which is why I was really looking forward to Tomorrowland, even though one of his co-writers for the movie is Damon Lindelof, which I'm not on the bandwagon of everything Damon Lindelof does is terrible. It's just sometimes his stuff doesn't work too well. Again, I have no hate for the guy or his work, but he's not that impressive of a writer. But with Tomorrowland, this is pretty much Brad Bird's movie, and he continues to prove that he's still good at handling live-action films. He knows how to set up action scenes, he has great performances from his actors, and one thing that he has in this movie, since he has a hand of writing in it, unlike he did with Mission Impossible, he has a strong message of the movie. But saying what the message is would spoil the movie, so I'll get into that at the end. But I really, really like this movie a lot. Despite what the critics say, I actually really like this movie. It's original in the sense of story and characters, but it is based off the Disney-themed area of the same name, Tomorrowland. But it's only based off it in name and production design. The look of Tomorrowland is fantastic, and there are a lot of elements that borrow from the actual Tomorrowland, from Disneyland and Walt Disney World. You got Space Mountain, you got architecture that's very much like the actual Tomorrowland. So Brad Bird definitely paid attention to that to incorporate a feeling of Tomorrowland, and it definitely works. All the actors do a great job. George Clooney is pretty much a bitter version of George Clooney. There's nothing about his performance that really stands out because he's pretty much George Clooney, and he's very good at playing George Clooney. The two standouts of the movie is this little girl who plays Athena named Raffi Cassidy. I assume that's how you pronounce your first name. But in terms of child actors, she's really good in the movie. And given the fact that Brad Bird has done two anime movies that have child protagonists, Iron Giant and The Incredibles, he knows how to get good performances out of your child actors. So Raffi Cassidy is really good in the movie, and her character is pretty much the heart of the movie. And on the other side, we have the spirit of the movie in the form of Britt Robertson, who this is the first movie I've ever seen her act in, and she pretty much looks like Jennifer Lawrence. Her character in the movie is very enthusiastic, positive, very outgoing and energetic, and I really like that. And for the first time I've ever seen this girl in a movie, I was greatly impressed by her acting. The movie is far from perfect, though. Without spoiling anything, the story structure is a little off at times. It kind of goes into some generic paths, mainly near the end when we get to the big villain of the movie. And its message, it does have a message in the movie, which I won't say until after I give my rating to avoid spoilers, but there are times where it kind of bashes you over the head with it. Sometimes it bothered me that they just kind of hammer it in, the message, But there are other times where it's just like, this message is actually important that I don't really consider it anything more outside of a nitpick. And it's nice that the movie actually held on to that message to the very end. Unlike another original science fiction film that came out in November of last year that completely lost its message by the last 20 minutes. Sorry, but it did. And you know what science fiction film I'm talking about. And the movie is a little too long, admittedly. There are a few scenes where it could have been cut out, and the movie could have been a little tighter. But in the end, I think Tomorrowland is a really, really, really good movie. It's got some great action sequences, a great score by Michael Giacchino. The actors are great, the direction's great. It definitely has its problems, some big problems, but I think the message is strong enough that I would say it's worth seeing in your lifetime. And please go see this in the theater because it's something that's made to be seen in the theater. Now let's talk about the message. This is where I give away spoilers. The message of the movie is pretty much addressing the death of optimism. George Clooney is this bitter man who's pretty much negative. He does not have any hope or optimism. And that's why Casey is his opposite, because she's outgoing, positive, she's optimistic. In the movie, Frank Walker gets banished from Tomorrowland, and it just basically becomes this dystopian future, pretty much, that the villain of the movie wants to use to basically keep those who are worthy safe while the rest of the planet dies. And Casey's like, no, I won't allow that, and that's pretty much the drive of the whole movie. The movie talks about how we as a society have kind of lost optimism, like, oh, the drought in California, well, there's nothing we can do about it. Global warming, the polar ice caps melting, so many things that just we don't have any optimism for, when we should be at a point where it's like, we can do this stuff if we believe. Like, we could have hoverboards and flying cars by October 2015. We could make the future a better place if we just believe. And that also plays into Walt Disney's original idea of Tomorrowland and Epcot in Florida. And the Sherman Brothers song, It's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, does play in the movie. And it is there because it's a movie called Tomorrowland, and you gotta have the song that plays during the now gone Carousel Progress ride. But its lyrics have a meaning to the message of the film. There is a great big beautiful tomorrow shining at the end of every day. There is a great big beautiful tomorrow, and tomorrow's just a dream away. Man has his dream, and that's a start. He follows his dream with mind and heart. Then when it becomes a reality, it's a dream come true for you and me. So there's a great big beautiful tomorrow shining at the end of every day. There's a great big beautiful tomorrow just a dream away. Meanwhile, somebody who just saw me recite the entire song is going, nerd! And hey, yeah, I am a nerd. So that's why I like the movie the way it is. The message is strong, and it does play into Walt Disney's original ideology of Tomorrowland and the future that we could have if we bring back hope and optimism, if we look forward to the future rather than back and not do anything about it. And that's my review for Brad Bird's Tomorrowland. Leave a comment and tell me what you thought of the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Like, subscribe, share me with your friends, and this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one.